Upgrading the exhaust can be one of the best first mods to do to almost any vehicle, but if you own a Bronco, you'll quickly realize there's a lot of options to choose from. So in today's video, we're going to check out one of those options and even show you how to install it. This is the MagnaFlow Overland catback exhaust system for the 2.7 liter 2-door and 4-door Bronco. And I gotta say, this is actually a pretty cool kit. It's gonna be a 3-inch exhaust from the catback, and even though the exhaust is a lot bigger than factory, they still do a really good job of keeping it as close to the Bronco as possible so you don't end up getting it caught on something when you're off-roading. Now, one thing I wanna point out with this exhaust system that really stands out from the rest is the resonator setup. So the resonator is an NDT resonator, which stands for no drone technology. MagnaFlow also calls it a Helmholtz chamber, which a lot of you are probably familiar with. Now this is essentially going to keep all the drone from getting into the cabin area of the Bronco without affecting the exterior sound of it. The other cool thing about this exhaust setup and the resonators, if you don't like the way the Helmholtz chamber sounds, they include another resonator that you can put on to be able to change up the exhaust tone. Besides the awesome resonator design, this exhaust will feature the MagnaFlow Overland muffler, which hugs the body of the Bronco so you don't end up getting it caught on anything when off-roading. Now besides all of that, the really cool part about this exhaust system is there's no permanent modifications needed to install it, so if you ever wanted to go back to factory for some reason, you can take this off and go back to factory with no issues at all. Now let's go ahead and send this Bronco up in the air, rip the factory exhaust off, and get the new MagnaFlow on. Before we jump into today's install, if you have any questions about the tools that we're using, check out cjponyparts.com/tools or click the link in the corner of the video for a free video and PDF file showing you what tools you should have and how to use them properly and safely. To start this off, we're going to loosen this exhaust clamp here, which has a 15mm nut on it. That should be loose enough to get the muffler out, and then now we'll work on getting the hangers out. Now to get these hangers off, grab some silicone lubricant. This will make it way easier. You'll be able just to slide out then. Then grab your clamp tool, push that through, pop the rubber bushing off. And just like that. And then we have one more on the other side. Once you have your exhaust clamp loose and both the hangers disconnected, just start wrestling the muffler off. Sometimes you might even have to grab a rubber mallet, start tapping it a little bit from the other side. We're up near the cat section of the exhaust, and it's time to go ahead and remove the 15mm nuts that hold it on. Make sure you hold on to these because we will reuse them. After you remove those 15mm nuts off the exhaust, come to the side of it. This is going to be your exhaust hanger. It's going to be held in by two 10mm bolts. Go ahead and remove those as well. And again, keep this mount and the hardware because we're going to reuse this for our new exhaust. Now we're going to take off our middle exhaust hanger, and once we have this off, we'll be able to remove our factory exhaust. We now have our factory exhaust off, so it's time to put our new MagnaFlow exhaust on. And to do that, I'm going to start off by putting the factory exhaust mount back on. I'm going to put the hardware in, not tighten it down fully, just keep it loose. With the hardware loosely in there, I'm going to spray some of our silicone lubricant in here. Make this a little bit easier to put the exhaust back on. So this is the first piece of the MagnaFlow exhaust system, and it's going to be the only piece with a flange on it. So we're simply just going to put this into our mount here and then connect it to the factory downpipe. Then put your hardware on loosely, don't fully tighten these down. Before we move on to the next part of the exhaust system, I want to point something out that's pretty important. If you have a 4-door model like the one that we're working on today, you are going to use this straight piece of tubing. Now, if you have a 2-door model Bronco, you do not have to worry about this. This is only going to be for the 4-door. So again, 4-door model uses this piece of tubing. If you have a 2-door, you do not use this, just throw this to the side. So like I said, since we have a 4-door model, we'll be using this piece of tubing. Don't forget to throw an exhaust clamp on. And simply just slide this guy on and all the way back. Take your exhaust clamp over this area here and then loosely tighten this. Do not tighten it down fully because we are going to have to make adjustments at the end. Now you're going to want to grab the biggest piece inside this exhaust kit here, and we're going to put this on, except instead of sliding it onto the pipe first, I'm actually going to put it on the hanger first because I found that to be a little bit easier. Now that the piping is on the hanger, of course, don't forget your exhaust clamp, and then just connect the two pipings together. Again, we're going to tighten down the clamp, but not all the way. We're going to leave it loosely installed. That way we can adjust later. All right, now we're going to put the rear section of the exhaust on. Before I connect it to the pipe, I'm actually going to connect it to the hanger again first, just to make everything a little bit easier. Now before we connect the pipe, of course, slide your exhaust clamp on. And then tighten down the clamp, but again, not all the way because we might have to make adjustments in the end. We're getting down to the last couple of steps here. It's time to put the muffler on. Again, I'm going to put it in the hanger first. Now we're going to put on our piping for our Helmholtz chamber. And finally, we're going to put on the Helmholtz chamber. Well, we got the exhaust installed, and now it's time to go back through and tighten down all of our clamps once you make the correct adjustments so you can get the exhaust sitting exactly how you like. After we tighten everything down, we'll do a little bit of an overview of this exhaust and then we'll see how it sounds. So before we move on with the sound clips, I wanted to talk a little bit about the MagnaFlow Overland catback exhaust system. Now, I gotta say, I'm pretty happy with the install. It was super easy. Honestly, you should be able to knock this install out in like 30 minutes. But as far as the exhaust goes, I'm really happy with it. MagnaFlow was right. They got the exhaust to be tucked up with the Bronco, so it's not going to get in the way of anything when we're off-roading. Now, I will say I was a little nervous about the resonator setup. I thought that it might be too big and it might get in the way, but after seeing it installed on the Bronco, it definitely will not get in the way at all. Now, I'm super excited to hear how this is going to sound, so let's lower the Bronco back on the ground and start it up. So if you're looking for an exhaust, I think the MagnaFlow Overland Catback exhaust system is a great option for you. It's got a good tone to it, it's pretty aggressive, it's not too loud, it's not too quiet, and the install's super easy, so what more could you really want? Now, if you'd like to purchase this exhaust system, you can find it on cjponyparts.com, but it is time to drop a gear and disappear. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and if you need any off-road parts, just click the link down below in our description.